Okay, I'm going to do a demonstration now of how we have taken the XKeys along with vMix and PTZ optics and basically automated our entire worship service so that anybody can come in to the control area and through pushing a series of buttons be able to have the live stream essentially look the same as it always does. So I have everything set up the way we normally do now. I have a welcome slide up here that has a slide of the outside of the church. It has a clock built into it up to the time. We have our services at 11 o'clock in the morning and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then there's also an insert box that has one of my PTZ cameras set on a wide shot so that people are able to see who's coming in. I usually begin the streaming with this at about 15 minutes before the service. That begins by pushing this button right here, this A button. I'm not going to do that now because if I do, I'll start a stream. But when I do, it blinks, and it continues to blink until we finish the stream, at which time I hit it again, and it stops the stream and the blinking goes out. So the first thing we do is have it set up here at on the first position. What this has done, it has the slide up there on the output, and it has the next shot set on the preview monitor. Each of the keys in the X key, as I have discovered, has two positions, a position fully in and a position fully out. You can actually set different functions to occur on each of those two positions. So what I have basically done, and it took me a number of times of experimenting, is on the input, the all the way down position is where the transition is actually occurring from preview to the output. Then when I release the key and it comes up, if there is something else that needs to be set up in the preview, it's at that up point that is triggered. So I have everything set to work right straight down the line. The only thing that isn't that way is my record. Now my record is down at this end, and so at the time that the service is to begin, this is the way it looks with this light blinking right here. Then when the service is to begin, I will hit this button and that starts my recording. You'll see how that is blinking. We know that the system is now recording. Then I'm still on this first shot here. What I will do is I will then, when the time is right, I'll push the second button. That dissolves the shot from the welcome slide to the slide which was in preview. Notice I'm still holding my finger down. As soon as I release it, the next shot will be set up in the preview monitor. So it's set there, it's my wide shot going back into the preview monitor and being set on the speaker. That is now ready for the second shot. I then push my third button and that transitions the shot to the program monitor, and when I release this key, it presets my next shot. Then as I push it, the fourth key, that takes that shot, and I release it, and it previews my next shot. Now here, what I'm going to do on my next one, you're going to see that it actually, using vMix's merge, it's going to take the slide which is down in this corner, and it's going to merge it out full to the next shot. So as I push that button, you'll see that it merges out, and then it previews back on the other side to the next one. Now the trick is to remember to hold the key down until the function that down position is triggering has completed. If you release it too soon, it flips to the next one and doesn't remember where you are. So that's the only Only thing that you have to remember in doing this is hold the buttons down long enough to be able for that function to be completed. Now the other thing that I noticed in doing this is you see there's only one light here. These buttons all on the top are for the Sunday morning services. The buttons down below are set for our Wednesday evening service. There's a light down here for the Wednesday night service, but none of these buttons down here are active because I'm in a different preset. I can push these all day long, and I'm in my Sunday preset rather than in my Wednesday preset. So in my Wednesday preset, these buttons that I'm using now are not active. But what I've set up here is that the buttons that are activated are lit up. And the reason for that is that there's sometimes a significant amount of time while you stay on one shot, and rather than keeping your finger on there, I put a light, an activator light, so that I know which event I'm actually on for the next to go to the next event. Now, in order to do that, what I realized is that when I first set this up, I was having lights up all over the place. And what happened is that every time I would go to a particular shot, wherever else that shot was used in the service, it would light up. So I might use a shot 6 different times in the service, and every time I would go to that, the light would indicate that it was on for wherever it was in the service. So I might have 6 lights on at one time. In order to get around that, what I did is I had to create a virtual a copy of every shot that needed to have a duplicate. So you see down here, here's all of my duplicate shots. My corner cameras, I have 2 PTZs, a corner camera and a side camera, and I have my corner camera virtuals here, my side camera virtuals here. I have a slide virtuals here that I've also had to include because they were used more times. Now, the only thing that's not in this section up here are my slide changes. The reason being is that there are different numbers of slides that may be used in any given service for singing, for psalm, or for scripture reading, and so on. So those buttons are down here separate. This is a change psalm button. This one is a change scripture button. So you'll notice now I'll change the psalm down here. This light will stay there because the event doesn't change, but you'll notice on the screen that when I push this button, that slide will change. And I push it again, and that slide will change. And you see, it does not affect anything that's up here. So I can change my slides down here without stopping anything in the event up here. I could have put it in here every event, but then we'd have to have the same number of slides every week. So once that's finished, I can then push my next event, which dissolves to that shot, and it puts the name in. That particular one actually adds the name. Again, because I did a virtual, this is the same shot as we had before, but because I've done a virtual copy of that shot, this time when I went to it, I could add the trigger of putting his name in and put that example slide over the top of him. Once that's on, it's set up for the next one. I go to the next slide here, and again, this one is the second time the psalms are used for singing, and I hit this button again, and it merges up as it did before and sets up the next one. I can change my slides again here, and it doesn't have to be changed while I'm on the air. It can actually be changed off if I need to preview something ahead of time. And then I move down to my next row, and I dissolve that, and that's ready now for the scripture reading. And I push the next button down, and it clicks into where it goes, let it up, it previews the next shot. And then I push the next one, it merges, and I let it up, and it gives me the next shot. Now I can move to this side button and change the scriptures. As each time I push it, you see it changes those scriptures all the way through. then I can come back up here because this button is still lit up. I know exactly where I'm at. I can push the next one, which gives me that next shot, and then the preview. I come out to that wider shot, and then I click to him, tighter, the speaker, and the minister, and then I preview again the slide coming up. I click to that. The next one is the preview of the psalm slide full. I push the next button and it merges again. I let up on that, and it's ready for the next one. I go to the next one on a dissolve, let that up, it's ready for the next scripture reading, but I notice it's not the right one, so I change it to get the correct one. Again, this stays the same, and I push this button, that goes to the next event, and now again I push in, and as I push in, it zooms out, it emerges out. When I release it, it sets up the next shot, which is going to be a wide shot. Now here's some transitions that come here because I come out of this reading into the sermon. So when I do that, it's going to be a little bit different transition. So now I push the button, which dissolves to the wide shot. I let up on it. It sets my next shot, which is a side shot of the minister, and already has the title of this sermon already overlaid on this particular one. I take that, I release it, and it sets my next tight shot over here. Again, you see it's triggered to put his name in here, and after 7 seconds, that name will fade back out, and then he finishes the introduction to the sermon, and I take a tight shot here, which goes to the sermon. The next one is ready for after the sermon. He does another introduction to the singing of the psalm, which we take here. I release that, and we move into the merge out, and we're ready to go. And you see now we come out to we're ready for a wider shot here on that corner camera. So we've used the corner camera on, we've used the corner camera for a wide shot. We've used it for a close-up. We've used it within the introduction, in a multi-view within the introduction for the slides, using that tight shot. Now we've used a little bit wider shot here for the benediction, which will be coming up in just a moment. On the side camera, we've used a wider front shot. We've used a sermon introduction shot, and so each of those were preset in vMix. And then I go to my next button, and it dissolves to that coming out, and then this shot is preset here as he gives the benediction, and then when he begins to walk out, we dissolve to the shot where he's walking out. I release it, the camera comes back to a wide shot, and as he walks out of that shot, I dissolve it to a wider shot even as it comes out. And then as he walks out of that, I hit the last button, and the last button, you notice, is my fade to black. As soon as that fade to black hits, I come over here and hit my stop record, and I've finished. Now what I can do is I can come back up. I can come back up out of my fade to black, and I can come back now to another shot where they would have announcements and things like that would come from the pulpit area. Once that's been completed, then I will go to a wide shot, and this button here is still blinking. Now it's not because I didn't start it, but this is a stream. Once the announcements have finished, then what I've done is I've got an input down here, over here, where I'm actually watching my stream. I'm watching my stream to our primary CDN that we're sending it to. I'm watching that stream in order for the buffering to be finished. Once that's finished and I see it fade to black, then I push this button again, which stops the stream, and we're done. So that's basically what I've done in taking all the prepositions for the PTZ cameras, creating a virtual copy of all of the ones that were going to be duplicated so that my activator lights come up here when they're supposed to. And then I programmed all of those into my XKeys. Now, also on my XKeys, as I mentioned, all these down here are not active. They're not active because it's a different preset. If I put my Wednesday preset, these will come up. All these ones that are still highlighted in blue are active all the time. What this is, I've got programmed for my individual cameras so that I can change position of the camera. I can, all my left, right, up, down, upper left, upper right, and so on. I can zoom in, zoom out. All of those are for the side camera here. If I need to, I can cut to it quickly, or I can fade to it quickly if I'm not using my presets up here. This is for the back camera, the second camera. I can control all of those also at the same time. These two down here are for actually a bailout camera that I've got, a Logitech ProCam C910. That's my bailout camera. It's a wide camera. If I have to cut to it or fade to it in an emergency, I can do that. But these are the camera controls for both of these. These, as you notice, are in blue. They're active all the time. It's these ones that are grayed out here that are only active when the preset is selected, and then the light comes on when it's actually in use. So I hope this has helped on the programming of the XKeys. It took me a number of hours to figure this out. I know there are tutorials out there. Sometimes it's just easier when you try to figure it out yourself, because then you remember how everything is done. But hopefully this will be good for people that want to use it. Thanks again. If you've got any comments, please go ahead and make those comments, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if I can help. Thanks a lot. Bye now.